तो अभी एक सुझाव आ रहा है कि जो विभिन्न ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से लोग आए हैं, विभिन्न भरत जी का सुझाव है कि उनकी भी बात सुना जाए। तो मैं रवि कुमार से अनुरोध करूंगा। आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट यू टू स्पीक ऑन द इशू because Ravi Kumar has done lot of things in Tamil Nadu, organizing people, educationists and everybody on this new education policy and inside the parliament also. So after that we will listen the other views, and then some people, some parliamentarians speak on the issue, and then again we will open that. ऐसे करते हैं हाँ? ठीक है. So I would like to request Ravi. Yeah.
Friends, thanks for organizing the meeting at a very crucial juncture. So, I'm representing Viluppuram, a constituency in Tamil Nadu. Basically, I'm a writer, and my main focus is on education. I'm working on education for the past 25 to 30 years. Uh, After the introduction of the new education policy, we have organized several meetings in Tamil Nadu, and after my election, after the declaration of the results, I immediately organized one-day consultation in my constituency, invited academics all over the state, and we have divided the draft policy into several parts and discussed in depth and passed some resolution. And after taking oath in the house, I immediately approached other party members from our state, particularly the left parties, and Mr. D. Raja. He asked me to draft a giant memorandum, and I have drafted the memorandum and got the signature of 42 MPs in the Lok Sabha and submitted the memorandum to the HRD minister. Our main demand was first extend the date for the submission of suggestions, everything, and provide the draft in regional language. These are the main two demands. After our submission, they have extended the date and published a gist of the report in regional languages. So then I have submitted a detailed memorandum to the minister. So just I want to share the contents of the memorandum. It's very useful, I think. Yeah. I have raised my objection on 4-5 points. First, the universal literacy. Uh, shall I read out the memorandum? Yeah. The Education for All Global Monitoring Report 2013-2014 GMR, released by the UNESCO, acknowledges that India has by far the largest population of illiterate adults at 287 million, amounting to 37% of the global total. The report underlines the fact that people in the most marginalized groups have continued to be denied opportunities for education over the decade. The report further said the richest young women in India have already achieved universal literacy, but the poorest are projected only to do so around 2080. 2080. This new education policy does not propose any concrete measures to achieve universal literacy. See, from the Kothari committee report, all committees are, they have suggested various ways to achieve universal literacy. But this drought policy is totally against the spirit of the uh, tradition, and its main thrust is denying education to the mass, making education inaccessible to most the poor. The next issue is the dropout. The major problem of our school education is dropout. As per the report released in 2014, statistics of school education, 2011 and 12, dropout rates at primary, elementary, and secondary levels for all categories of students are 22.3%, 40.8%, and 50.3%. So the dropout in the secondary level is 50.3%. Detention is one of the main reasons for dropout. Earlier, central government has introduced no detention policy as part of Right to Education Act. But the NDA one government has amended the RTA Act to scrap the no detention policy and allow for detention of children in classes 3, 5, and 8. This wrong decision of the government is intentional and calculative to chase away the children of downtrodden from education. By introducing frequent public examination in the 5th standard, 8th standard, and semester system in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, this government, particularly the new education policy, is encouraging the evil design further, the dropout. This will definitely increase the dropout from 50 to 80% in the next 5 years. The third objection is the language formula. The policy introduces compulsory 3 languages formula. It's totally against all parties of Tamil Nadu. We are opposing the 3 language formula for the past 50 years, more than 50 years. We have sacrificed many lives. The struggle against the imposition of Hindi in Tamil Nadu. So, it is against the international practice. The introducing 3 language formula is against the international practice. Cognitive transaction of a child enhanced when it receives formal instruction in the language of its home environment. In England, Germany, and most European Union countries, children are required to study only one language in primary school and another language of their choice in middle school. In the US, it is English and Spanish, or some other languages as a second language. In Japan, it is Japanese and English from the primary level. In Hong Kong, it is primarily English, but also Mandarin. And if children with some Cantonese, in Egypt, Arabic is the primary language of instruction with a 6-year stint in English as a second language. Almost all over the world, with the exception of some former colonies, children are required to study primarily one language, another one as a second language. In almost all the countries, the second language is English. Tamil Nadu is also follow the same. We are following the 2 language formula in Tamil Nadu. So making compulsory a third language, this drop policy is making compulsory third language. First they mentioned Hindi as a third compulsory language, but they have changed. It's on your choice, but restricting the choice because they already done it in CBSE schools. They provide only Sanskrit and Hindi. You have to choose either Hindi or Sanskrit. There is no choice. Other choices there. Earlier, the students are allowed to learn Germany and French in schools, but they removed all these languages. Now they teach only Hindi and Sanskrit in CBSE schools in Tamil Nadu. So, this is the third language, is making compulsory third language is nothing but the indirect attempt to impose Hindi. So, we oppose the draft policy on the basis of the language also. Funding to education, Mr. Dubey also uh, explained how they are spending money for other purposes, but they are not giving money to education. It was in 1964 that the Kothari Commission has recommended allocation of 6% GDP to education. But NDA government continuously has reducing the budget allocation for education. And in 2014, I think the UPA is a large budget. It only crosses 3% allocated, more than 3% GDP to education. But after NDA government came to power, they are continuously reducing the budget allocation for education. Expenditure on education was 2.8% of the GDP in 2014-15, 2.4%, 2.4% 2015-16, 2.6% 2016-17, and 2.7% 2017-18. This year also they are around 2.7 something, 2019 budget also. So although the union budgets in 2014-15, poor funding is a main obstacle for our progress in education. This draft policy also rightly acknowledged in page number 402, the draft policy. Though this draft expresses hope on increase of public expenditure from the current 10% to 20% 10 years, miserably failed to propose concrete steps for achieving the goal. They are also speaking about increasing the funding, but there is no specific details about it. And snatching the power of states. The proposed structural changes in the higher education are only aimed at reducing the access to higher education rather than improving the quality of education. The draft policy snatches the rights of states, and through the policy, the center aims to bring education from the concurrent list to the union list. So, they are snatching more and more power. They are indirectly bringing the education into the union list. So now in Tamil Nadu, the gross enrollment ratio is a national average is it is 26 GER, but in Tamil Nadu it is 48. It is double the average of India, national average. Even SC, among SCs, it is 42, the GER is 42. But this new education policy, if they introduce this system, if they introduce entrance test to all, even for degree courses, definitely it will reduce the GER. It cannot improve. So these are the things we have focused in our memorandum. One more thing is particularly the discrimination in our campuses, from the school to higher education, whether it is IIT or JNU or school. So I'm focusing the discrimination aspect for the past 10 years. I have created 2 awards, one for school teacher and another for college teacher, who are encouraging equality in classrooms. Every year I am giving the award for the past 6 years. So I invite Vice Chancellor or former Vice Chancellor to hand over the awards to the teacher. By doing this, I am promoting the culture among the teachers, because the RTE has dealt this discrimination aspect. Some sections are there, But the new education policy draft completely silent on discrimination aspect. So discrimination is a very, very important thing. You also in your flyer, you have mentioned about the gender discrimination, the need to help the girl students to uh, achieve education. Okay. But all kinds of discrimination, are caste, religious, and gender, and physically challenged people. So during UPA government, the National Advisory Council headed by Sonia Gandhi, they have set up a committee, and they submitted a set of recommendation to deal the discriminations. But even in UPA government, they didn't give such much attention to implement the recommendations. Uh, Comparatively, the recommendations are very good. I have translated in Tamil the recommendation and distributed as a book in our state. And recently, 2 days ago, I have raised a discrimination issue. One star questions came, uh, but the minister acknowledged the discrimination, and he mentioned the rule in RTE and the sections in RTE and the guidelines issued during UPA government 2010 and 2012, but didn't mention anything new. In the draft policy also, what he told in the reply, the new education policy is on the process. We will definitely, the policy will be in the constitution, within the constitutional framework, because our constitution clearly says the discrimination is against the law. So that's all they told. So discrimination is a very, very important issue we have to take up. Not only gender discrimination in our state, particularly in Tamil Nadu, the school campus become very, very violent these days. The students are coming with the various bands, wristbands with the various colors. Yesterday, National Human Rights Commission also took up the issue so moto and issued notice. And even teachers were threatened, and cooks were chased away. So the caste discrimination is become very serious issue in the school education there. Maybe the same in other states also. I don't know. So I request you to take up the discriminations also when you talk about the new education policy, not only extending the RTE, extending the age. It's not. It's also very important. They are important aspects, but I request you to talk about, discuss about, and suggest about the discrimination aspects of the society, but particularly discrimination prevailing in our campuses and school campuses and the campuses of higher education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi Kumarji, for your excellent ideas and speech. So discrimination is our core issue in the RTE forum, and we are fighting for that because what we are criticizing this policy, that they have not mentioned the word of common school system. Common school system was a mechanism to introduce the inclusion and against the discrimination, and they are not mentioning the common school system. So that we are fighting for. So thank you for your deliberation. मैं इस सेशन को ओपन करूं उसके पहले मैं थोड़ा और मैं दानिश अली भाई, जो हमारे कुंवर दानिश अली, जो सामाजिक आंदोलनों से निकल कर और राजनीति के मैदान में घुस गए हैं और अभी बदायूं से लोकसभा सदस्य हैं, तो उनकी जीत के लिए, अमरोहा से सॉरी, उनकी जीत के लिए भी उनको बधाई देना चाहता हूं और हमारे इस कार्यक्रम में आने के लिए भी उनका स्वागत करना चाहता हूं। तो और हमें उम्मीद है कि दानिश अली जी हमारे इस आंदोलन को मजबूती देंगे संसद के अंदर भी। तो मैं अब वाईएसआर कांग्रेस के भरत जी को, जो यंग हैं और जिनसे कल हम लोगों की बातचीत भी हुई, ही इज़ वेरी कीन टू वर्क ऑन एजुकेशन एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी आर इनवाइटेड टू एड्रेस द गैदरिंग। और वाईएसआर कांग्रेस के चीफ विप भी हैं, तो जो 22-23 वाईएसआर के पार्लियामेंट मेंबर हैं उनको भी कह सकते हैं कि वो राइट टू एजुकेशन के लिए बोले।
Good evening, everyone. Today, actually, being an parliamentarians, we're sitting in front of you, and actually, with this printing material, what you have given us, apart from this, if any professors or any speakers, do you have any ideas if you put it in the air, so that we're gonna take it and we're gonna speak in the parliament, so that if anybody of the any speakers can confine the time to 1 minute each, so that we'll take your valuable suggestions. First of all, can anybody start so that we're gonna record it? Thank you.
You can request Devika ji, Sumitra. Yeah.
Apart from this.
Yeah.
Since, sir, you have specified 1 minute, and I will only focus on what is not being put centrally on the table here, and after everything that, sir, you've mentioned, and Professor Dubey and Rajiv Goda, sir, have mentioned, in 1 minute, I just want to highlight honorable members' attention to the fact that the entire draft national education policy does not recognize that children under 3 years of age also need to be a part of the learning and education continuum, because learning begins from birth. More than 80% of the brain has already developed by the time the child is 3 years of age. So excluding children from the rights entitlement for children under 3 years of age will be a glaring omission of the right to education and with the draft NEP at this date and age, and 20 years later we will again come back and be having a similar platform talking about why the education system has failed and why children are not learning. So that is my first submission, that in any debate about learning and education, children under 6 years of age, children under 3 years of age must be centrally located. My second, and this is going to be my main conclusion also, that any learning for all children from birth to 18, to make it quality, equitable, and accessible education, a primary system is our qualified, trained teachers. In order to make it equitable and good quality, the standards of teacher preparation and teacher education should also be equal for our teachers. That includes preschool teachers and caregivers who are working with the under 3 children and the 3 to 6 preschool education teacher. Therefore, the caste system between Anganwadi workers, between preschool teachers, between primary school teachers should be eliminated, and that discrimination should be eliminated, and the system should enable all Anganwadi workers, current preschool teachers, and new teachers coming into the system to have equal opportunities for good quality training and equal levels of training, so that finally the quality of education is equal. If I have 1 more minute, I can continue, but I will stop and pass it on to someone else and wait for the second turn.
One, he is saying what?
People who have been teachers can speak for, have an unfortunate tendency of speaking for until they are stopped by the bell. So I work on governance issues. For me, the question from a governance lens is, what does the policy say on regulation of the, we are in a time when there is growing privatization. We are in the middle of a students' movement around rising fees. What does the policy have to say around regulation of fees and of regulation of the private sector? What does it do to control growing commercialization of education? My humble submission, not much. It reiterates that education has to be not for school education has to be not for profit, but that's something that has been a stated policy for decades now. It says regulation को में छूट दी जाएगी. It says regulatory frameworks will be light, and given the fact that private schools have until now not adhered to fees regulatory frameworks, given the fact that private schools have hidden profits, given the fact that most of the biggest tragedies related to school safety have been within private schools, we need to have stronger regulation of private schools and not say philanthropic schools need to be promoted. Because there's no definition of philanthropic schools, and all schools are not for profit. Therefore, by default, the policy states that all private schools have to be promoted. इसके अलावा बहुत कुछ बोला जा सकता है, परंतु दूसरा इससे जुड़ा हुआ जो मसला है इकोनॉमिक इनइक्वालिटी का, अमीर और गरीब का फासला ये नीति कैसे दूर करेगी वो स्पष्टता नहीं है. जब तक भारत के अमीर घर के बच्चे एक दूसरी दुनिया में जो निजी शाला है उसमें पढ़ेंगे और गरीब बच्चे के परिवार के बच्चे सरकारी स्कूल में पढ़ेंगे, एक अच्छा इक्विटेबल भारत नहीं बन पाएगा. और ये मेरे ख्याल से सबसे बड़ी कमी है इस नीति में. धन्यवाद.
सर
अच्छा, अभी तो बहुत लोग बोलने वाले हैं और इसलिए अभी हमारे जो माननीय सदस्य लोग हैं
सिर्फ एक सेकंड सर,
उनको भी जाना है.
सिर्फ एक
तो
सेकंड.
इसलिए मैं एक एक करके मैंने एक एक सेशन में आपको बोलना होगा, ठीक है?
एक लाइन सर.
हाँ, एक लाइन.
इसमें इस न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में जो टीचर की अपॉइंटमेंट है उसको और कॉम्प्लेक्स किया जा रहा है कि जैसे अभी पहले सीटेट होता है और उसके बाद हर स्टेट में कोई टेस्ट वगैरह होते हैं, लेकिन इसमें क्या कह रहे हैं कि आपका उसके बाद इंटरव्यू होगा, डेमो क्लासेज होंगे, उसके बाद आपको 3 साल के प्रोबेशन पे रखा जाएगा और फिर प्रोबेशन के टाइम पे आपके फिर जो है ACR वगैरह भरवाई जाएंगी और 3 साल के बाद फिर आपको परमानेंट किया जाएगा. मतलब टीचर परमानेंट होने के भय से जो है अच्छे से काम कर ही नहीं पाएगा. तो टीचर की जो रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसेस है उसको बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स किया जा रहा है. जो अब चल रहा है उसी को कंप्लीट करने में यहाँ पे सालों लग जाते हैं. देश की राजधानी में भी ये जो प्रोसेस है 6-6, 7-7 साल में पूरा हो रहा है, तो ये और कॉम्प्लेक्स करने जा रहे हैं.
अच्छा, प्रेरणा, यू वांट टू से समथिंग?
जी, मैं सिर्फ इस और आपका ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहती थी कि आज भी जो हमारी एजुकेशन है वो इतनी जेंडर्ड है कि जब हम अपनी टेक्स्ट बुक्स उठा के देखते हैं तो उसमें सिर्फ कहीं ना कहीं पुरुष प्रधानता नज़र आती है. सो माय हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑल ऑफ अस इज दैट लेट्स स्टार्ट रिव्यूइंग व्हाट वी आर टीचिंग आवर चिल्ड्रन. लेट्स स्टार्ट टॉकिंग टू आवर चिल्ड्रन द सेम लैंग्वेज. हम बात करते हैं कि लड़के बहुत वायलेंट हैं और लड़कियां स्कूल नहीं जा सकती हैं, पर हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि उन लड़कों को हम ही लोग पढ़ाते हैं कि लड़के ज़्यादा महान हैं और लड़कियों के ऊपर उनका कहीं ना कहीं एक अधिकार है. तो मैं बहुत निवेदन करना चाहूँगी अपने जितने भी MPs यहाँ मौजूद हैं कि एक जेंडर लेंस से हमें इस एजुकेशन को देखने की ज़रूरत है और इस पॉलिसी में इस बात को रखने की ज़रूरत है कि कैसे हम अपने बच्चों को, लड़के लड़कियों दोनों को एक स्तर पर लाएं और एक जो कॉमन ग्राउंड तैयार कर सकें कि वो एक दूसरे के साथ रिस्पेक्टफुली कैसे इस देश को आगे बढ़ाएं.
Yeah, so Bharat ji, now.
And thank you so much. Thanks for all your suggestions. Rightly, I want to talk on 5 different aspects. So you all know that if the world has to change, if the country has to change, education is the only mantra for everybody. In fact, see, we've been discussing after this 73 years of independence, but the education policy is still need to be upgraded a lot when it compared to different countries in the world. So still, yeah, I've seen a couple of points in the brochure. What you have added is, see, we are there in the 13th position when it comes to the age being married under 18 years. So in the worldwide, we are rating in a 13th place. In fact, there is a 47%. It's really a crying shame for the country after this many years of independence also. And coming to the point, in our state, our Chief Minister, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy ji, has started a new policy. In our manifesto also, we've incorporated, we are starting it, a scheme called Amma Vadi. Amma Vadi is nothing but if anybody, any mother who happens to send their children to the school, they'll be given 15,000 rupees for each child, in fact. So if the mother happens to have a couple of children, two child, they are being given 30,000 per annum. So that is really very encouraging for instead of sending in the poor and downtrodden, if you happen to see. So everybody in the houses, they happen to send for the child labor, and everywhere it has been happening. So our Honorable Chief Minister has made a choice of this and is going to implement, and he made a choice also that in coming 5 years, we have to see Andhra Pradesh as a 100% literacy rate. That is what his agenda is. And one more thing I wanted to ask you all, our children, next generation children, has to compete with the world or just with the country or just with the state? I wanted your opinion. Our children has to compete with the world, right? You all agree? So that is how our Honorable Chief Minister has started a policy of educating the children in English medium. So the English medium is compulsory in Andhra Pradesh in the next academic year. Because there is a lot of debate on this particular aspect. But the thing is, like, language is different and medium is different. So one has to think of it, because always the mother tongue is also there, because being a second language, the subject is also there, whether it be it Hindi or the mother tongue or Telugu or whatever, the Tamil. So that is the one big policy, one big reform the Honorable Chief Minister is trying to incorporate in the education system. So once the children happen to be in the schools, with the mothers, the parents are willing to send the children because they've been getting 50,000 bucks per annum. So, and they are being getting educated in the English medium. So because some says, see, in the mother language, in the very primary age, there's going to be very big hurdles and all. So I only, my example, 30 years ago, I was taught in English medium. So even I have a lot of command in my mother tongue too. So that depends. But even though this is one big reform we're going to take, and moreover, I wanted to talk on one more aspect, is that incorporating sports in the education system. See, the point is that when you are physically fit from the childhood, then only from the childhood, if you're physically fit with all kind of activities, physical activities, then you can easily cope up with all the children and what the teachers are going to teach them. And also, when it comes to the sport, see the statistics of past 100 years in the Olympics. What is the status of the country? So we are like somewhere in the 100th position or something like that. The small countries, if you happen to see Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and what all the countries, they've been achieving at least 2 to 3 gold medals in every Olympics. But for us, achieving one gold medal is like really very hard for the country. So these kind of aspects also I've raised in the parliament. And in the coming days also, we, a couple of months back, we happened to sit with the HRD minister, both Telugu speaking states, Telangana and Andhra. We have given some suggestions, and regarding this aspect also, we've raised it. And also in every school, be it this Jilla Parishad school, or whatever the schools are, every school should have a playground. That has to be implemented vigorously across the country, because not only one village has one school. The school should has 100% should require a playground. That also we mentioned in that suggestions thing. And also regarding this sustainable development goals, this is the fourth point, is that education, right to education. This is really encouraging in mentioning that. And also one more point, the ex-Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Rajashekar Reddy ji, has introduced one scheme called fee reimbursement. And in this fees reimbursement also, a lot many students have studied the PG and be it in engineering and all. So when it is economically poor, and when the students are economically poor, it's very hard for them to study, because the fee rates are really high. And he has introduced one great scheme, and we've requested the government of India also to follow this fees reimbursement also in the engineering, be it in engineering, be it in medicine, be it in the civils, or whatever it is. And also, I've raised one more point regarding this, is that interest-free loans to all the students, because education is not considered to be a business. The government should take an initiative in implementing the education-free loans for the economically backward people. And it should be, I'm not talking about the downtrodden or the BCs, I'm talking about economically backward people, be it in the upper caste also. If they are economically poor, the government should take an initiative in sanctioning them education-free loans also, so that that should be on very easy installments for the students, for the parents to pay back the actual amount, which is the 0% of interest-free rate. And coming to that, the child abuse. The child abuse is also one of the greatest menace. It's a big menace. And it starts from the child abuse. It's in the school early ages, and there are lot many instances. I mentioned that there are instances where the teachers got involved in some kind of issues, and where the students got involved in these issues. And there also, in that meeting, in the HRD meeting also, we've raised many more issues regarding that. And I'm confining this 7 to 8 points right now. And in future also, I happen to interact, I wanted to interact with you all, and I wanted to take lot many suggestions from you, so that that will be easy for us. Apart from this booklet, if you have more suggestions also in the framing of the education policy in the coming academic year, that is easy for us also to speak and raise our voice in the parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bharat ji. Or there are so many difference of opinion on this language issue, and we will discuss later on. And we will discuss and try to complete. So your this spirit and sports thing, that is very welcome issue. And this language issue we will discuss later on, and then we will go ahead. और राम मोहन नायडू जी श्रीकाकुलम से हैं हमारे साथी, पार्लियामेंट मेंबर हैं. ओके, थैंक यू. पार्लियामेंट मेंबर हैं, एंड और ओके, थैंक यू फॉर योर. तो मैं उनको बुलाना चाहता हूँ, और लेकिन हमारे दानिश अली जी, इनको अमरोहा जाना है.
मैंने परमिशन ले लिया
ले
उनसे.
लिया? हाँ, तो ठीक है.
प्लीज या प्लीज. I'll finish in 5.
ओके, सो राम मोहन नायडू जी से मैं दरखास्त करूँगा कि वो आई विल.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the Right to Education Forum for inviting all the parliamentarians and giving a much bigger approach towards education through this forum. And I'd like to thank Danish Aliji also for letting me speak before him. And I think it is very important. See, I have to agree that even though we have won as member of parliamentarians, we are not experts in everything. We speak in the parliament definitely, but we are more than experts, we are communicators. We have to listen to the people, we have to listen to different problems people are facing, and we have to represent it in the right way so that the right acts, the right bills are brought in the parliament and the right legislations are done. And everyone would agree that education is the most important indicator for any country, any society, any economy. There is no debate on that. And definitely the kind of spirit each one is showing here, it is understandable that everyone wants to see this country progressing in a much better way, and education being the primary pillar for that. And the present government also speaks about $5 trillion economy. If that is supposed to be a reality, then education plays a very big role in that. And we are living in a digital age also, where education is very, very important in the kind of problems that we are facing today. The importance is much more when you talk about climate change. The importance is much more when you talk about cyber security, privacy. The importance is much more when you talk about new different kinds of health problems we are facing. And the primary answer, a solution to all these kind of things is education. So depending on that, we have to see that this policy that is being formed, it's in the drafting stage right now, and definitely whenever it comes for discussion, we need to be thorough. All the parliamentarians should be thorough, and the debate and deliberations that need to happen should be at a stage where the whole country is proud of that we are talking what makes sense for the country to move forward. And some of the problems that I can say from my experience of, this is my second time of being a member of parliament. I won in 2014 also. So some of the experiences that I've faced in the last 5 years I can share with you. And one of the most important ones is that no matter how much you speak here, how much of good legislations you get done in the parliament, or how many good speeches you give, ultimately the ground level implementation is totally different issue. It's totally disrelated in a sense, misconnected. We come here to Delhi, we speak in various forums, we speak in the parliament, we speak about various issues, school level, district level, state level, but somehow there is a misconnection between what's happening in Delhi, how the law gets made, how the policies are made, and what the local implementation is there at the ground level. And one major example, and everyone has put this forward also, the major problem that we face right now is the funds. If we don't back the talk that we do with proper financial strength, nothing can be done. It's there in anything. You want to construct something, you want to develop something, you have to build up infrastructure, everything needs funds, and the same thing with education also. If you want to see some transformation in education also, definitely it has to be backed by the right financial strength also. And it has to be done at the central level, and it has to be done at the state level also. Proper budget allocation firstly should be done. And the shortage of funds also led to a lot of infrastructure problems. And one major thing that I've seen at the ground level is that other than the shortage of funds, there is also mismanagement of funds. The funds that are sent to the schools for different infrastructural things, I've seen that a school which has, let us say, 200 students studying in it, it doesn't get any new buildings to be constructed. A school which has 20 students studying somehow gets 4 new buildings to be constructed. And I keep asking these local Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan officers, whoever are working at the district level, and at my capacity I talk to them, and even they can't understand. They say is plan mein itna aa gaya, is plan mein itna aa gaya, abhi kuch change nahi kar sakte. And it doesn't make any sense that I want to get the buildings made in the school where 200 people are there, but they say it can't be changed. They have to go to the school where only 20 people are there. So there is a lot of misconnection in the way the funds are being spent also. So this, I think, needs to be addressed in the new education policy, and how we allocate proper funds and how we connect them to what the requirement is there at the ground level. There should be a lot of flexibility also. एक स्कीम आता है कि नेशनल लेवल पे हर जगह पे ये बिल्डिंग्स बनाएंगे, इतने बनाएंगे, उतने बनाएंगे, और एक एक स्कूल में इतना 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 पैसा चला जाता है, एंड वी डोंट नो इफ दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड और नॉट. So if you give that flexibility at the district level and you push some funds over there, I think there is a lot of scope for improvement at the minute level. Some school might require a new bore water connection to the toilets that we have built. Some school might require a compound wall. Some school might require a playground that needs to be developed. So there are different requirements. You can't just say that all throughout India I'll release a scheme to build something over across this thing. So a lot of flexibility should be given at the lower level, which is at probably the district level or the block level that is there. Other than that, the training of teachers has also been talked about. See, the problem I see in the coming years, as we start educating people, as we start this universal education policy of educating everyone, the requirements of jobs will also increase. And that is already there also. The major problem that today Indian economy is facing is that there is no jobs. And as we see more educated people coming into the scenario, you will face a lot of more situation and a lot of more heat regarding job providing. So the reason I'm mentioning this problem is because at the school level, there has to be proper training to the teachers that whatever we are teaching is not just memory based, because a lot of the Indian system is totally memory based. कि रट्टा मारो, basically जैसे कि ये पढ़ लो, ये एग्जाम में आएगा, इसको लिख लो, हो गया तुम्हारा. So that is the way that we are inculcating our students to, I mean, learn things. Rather than being a memory-based system, it has to be in a way that people, especially the kids at that age, should be taught of thinking out of the box. That is where problem solving comes. That is where creative thinking comes, logical thinking comes. That is where you find solutions to new problems. The reason you have to teach them this kind of creative thinking, logical thinking is because when you teach them memory based, unka kya hota hai, as they learn through memory, they always feel that I have to work for someone, I have to find a job, I have to work for someone, koi is tarah ka job milna chahiye. When you start giving them logical thinking based education, they will try to go for entrepreneurship. They'll look at society, they will try to see problems in the society, they'll try to solve those problems, they'll try to come up with innovative concepts. So the training that the teachers need to be given is that कि it shouldn't be a one way कि मैं first class को पढ़ा रहा हूँ तो ये syllabus है, इतना मैं पढ़ा सकता हूँ. It has to be a way, it has to be a two-way communication. If the child is curious enough to ask some questions, the teacher should be good enough to guide him in a way where he explores his passion at that age also. So that is something I don't find it at all, to be honest, that at the rural level, my constituency is totally rural. And this kind of teaching is very much missed, and I feel bad about it, I feel sad about it, but definitely the policy is one way of affecting this. So this kind of teaching also, teachers also should be a major part of the educational policy, and how we train them and how they become part of this new educational system should be very well looked upon in the policy also. And my colleague from Andhra Pradesh, Bharat, he has also mentioned this, the sports curriculum. That's also very important. And other than that, communication is very, very important in today. Communicating and personality development. So these are some of the additional things. It has to be a holistic education. You can't just teach everything through books. You have to teach him values. You have to teach him standards. You have to teach him culture. You have to teach him how to respect. You have to teach him how to grow in different kinds of society. You have to teach him adaptability. So all these things also need to be inculcated in the present education system. So these are some of the concepts. And the other interesting thing, I would definitely leave it for you guys to debate. Because in today's, at least in case of Andhra, I can tell that every village there is a small school. Let it be one teacher school or two teacher school. There are some schools which have only 5 students or 6 students. There are schools which have like 10 students, 15 students. So one concept that we tried when, in the previous government, when Chandrababu Naidu gar was there as chief minister, was that we wanted to merge some schools so that instead of one teacher teaching 5-6 students, 4-5 teachers can come together at a local level, maybe in nearby villages. They can all, with good standards, whichever facility is available, they can move there, and transportation can be arranged so people all can come to that school, and there are specified teachers for each subject, for each class. And so that is one thing we can think about, because right now to provide education to the remotest areas. We are trying to build one block, one building over there. There'll only be 4 or 5 students. We are not able to give them the proper way of schooling. See, that the difference is that even in those remotest areas, they are willing to spend more money and send them to private schools rather than sending them to the government school, because they feel that there are only 4 other students there and only 1 teacher there. So the idea of going to school is somehow missing in that facility. So can we merge schools at that lower level, maybe 4 or 5 villages which are adjacent to each other? Can we mix all of them, bring all students together and create that the feeling of going to a school where people of different classes also come together? There are teachers, there are periods, there is a certain way that we follow. So can that system be followed? That's something you guys need to debate upon. And other than that, research and innovation are very, very important subjects, and a lot of brain drain happens because of this. Some of the most educated people from our Indian education system, they leave abroad because they feel that for them to grow further, it is better to study abroad rather than continuing their education system here. So the process of including research and innovation in our Indian education system is also very important. And somehow it has to start at the middle school or high school level. We have to start inculcating this research process so that people just don't divert themselves that padne ke baad mujhe sirf job hi karna hai, ya in a specific line. They have to be giving back to the society also, giving back to the educational system also. And one way to do that is research and innovation, and that should be a priority. Other than that, I really thought that I shouldn't use this for political this thing. See, Bharat actually comes from my opposition party in Andhra also. And I'll definitely have to mention one point that he mentioned. He came back because I was speaking. No, my only thing is, no. So I really don't want to use, and please don't think otherwise also. The point that he mentioned is it's an innovative concept. Everyone has a different ideology, and the party wants to introduce the English system. My only advice, you can take it as a suggestion, since this is all a suggestion forum only, is that there have been research done internationally also that the child actually improves when you teach him in local mother tongue till 5th class or middle class. So that is a proven research. That is one suggestion that you can take. And the other thing, your government right now wants to do it instantaneously. It wants to start from 1st to 10th in 6-7 months. But we are lacking the teachers that can teach in English. So let it be a phased manner. You do some schools first, you see how it is working out, and then you do. Why do you need to do all 100% of schools, everything at the same time? And the third suggestion that I would give is that let the child have an option. How can you decide that he wants to study in English medium and he'll be better in English medium? Someone might be a Telugu lover and he wants to study in Telugu medium, then it has to be his opinion, his choice. So that much choice should be left to the student or the parents to decide. And these are some suggestions I want to give. You can take it as a party suggestion or through this forum also. I'm using this forum for this. So other than that, I think I was very, very impressed by the suggestions that you made. We are very sorry that we could only give you 1 or 2 minutes, but I'm sure that each and every one of you has very good suggestions for us, which will actually improve our debating sense in the parliament also. So definitely I have some other commitments. I'll be going from here after this speech. But if you can provide us with those suggestions, definitely we'll improve ourselves, like whatever suggestions you feel, because you're working day in and day out on education. We have so many other things to look after also. So education is not our expertise. So whatever suggestions you can give, definitely it will help us. It will help us 2 ways. One, to debate in the parliament to make a better policy, better legislation. 2, we can go back to our constituencies and see if these problems are prevalent in our constituency, and see, we as MPs, we have MP lads also. And from MP lads, I've tried last time also to set up digital libraries. I've given some for benches in schools. I've given some for infrastructure. And I also wanted to do some innovative concepts in regards to education. So if you can give some suggestions regarding that, how we can utilize our MP lads, it's a very meager compared to what the budget is. But if you can give some good suggestions on how to spend it efficiently at school level, then that also is will be taken in very good regard. So other than that, I'd like to thank the RTA forum once again. And sorry that I'll be going after this, but definitely we'll try to find a way to interact more in future also. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you who have come here, having faith in us that whatever you say might actually be represented in the parliament, and definitely we'll do our best. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone because each and everyone is very, very dedicated. I can tell about everyone that is here. They are very, very dedicated. I enjoy everyone's speeches. I see every one of them. So it's a very good collaborative effort that we try to put in the parliament also, irrespective of the politics that we play once in a while. But education is something we want to put above politics. Education we all want to put above politics, and we are going to do that in future also. So for that, having that respect and faith in us, I thank each and every one of you and my colleagues also for being part of this. Thank you very much.
One suggestion we can make that RT have a good connection across the country. So we'll substantiate information to RT forum, and we can develop a system to feeding those information to the like-minded MPs who are develop the system.
It's not for the discussion. The thing is like if the both opposition parties sit together and have a debate, so what happens is we'll explore new things. It's debatable. We'll get new ideas. So education is all about ideas. And the one more point is, I've sat again, I came back. I know he's going to raise it, but yeah, I know it. Because I'd like to know the medium of Telugu medium and English medium or Hindi medium, whatever it is. I could hardly see any politician's sons, any politician's daughters in Andhra Pradesh, whether they got, affluent politicians, whether their children got taught in Telugu medium. I would like to know. It's really, I need a honest answer for that. Because generally what happens is the language and if the children are going to be more illiterate. So what happens if a child happen to study in Telugu medium up till 7th standard or 8th standard or 10th standard? So they have to compete with the world, right? So again changing their medium to English, it's really hard for them. And I earlier told that I'm an example right from my childhood. I think perhaps Ram also from English medium, I guess. I don't think so. I don't think so. He's from Telugu medium, and he's also from English medium, and he's giving bhashan now about Telugu medium.